in a subdivision called Blue Ridge Manor, which has been built on former horse pastures. Soon after arriving, my brothers, sisters, and I venture out to the front lawn to meet the neighborhood kids for the first time. Are y'all Yankees or Confederates? One of them asks us right off the bat. Huh? I don't know what he's talking about. But I do know they talk funny with long, drawn out vowels, and they address adults as ma'am and sir. It's the summer before I enter seventh grade, and I'm 12 years old, on the cusp of adolescence. I'm about to enter the strange new world of public school after 6 years of Catholic school, against a backdrop of Southern culture, racial tension, and the Vietnam War. Soon enough, I start at Eastern, a school that combines middle and high school. I find that, unlike my all-white subdivision, about a third of my classmates are Black. Although I haven't had much contact with Black folks before then, within a short time I make besties with one of them, Jerry Smith, a girl with a sweet, shy smile. We gossip and giggle, and because we're a bit bored with school, we pass lots of notes in class and at our lockers. In eighth grade, our teacher arranges our desks in a U shape around her desk, and Jerry and I find ourselves assigned to desks on opposite sides of the classroom. This makes it hard for us to pass notes or keep up our regular banter during class. So together, we decide to learn sign language, not American Sign Language, but simply the hand signals for each letter of the alphabet. We master it in a couple of weeks, and we set about talking this way across the classroom while our teacher drones on with social studies or math lessons. During most of that year, we talk either with our hands or in person about boys, about makeup, about clothes, and other matters of such importance to 13-year-old girls. By that time, I talk like everyone else since I had taken on the y'alls and yes ma'ams of my peers. But it's as if Jerry and I have our own special dialect, one that no one else can understand. Sometimes after school, Jerry comes to my house or I go to hers. Once, when Jerry came to my house, she tells me her uncle runs a business near my home. So we walk outside of the subdivision through the horse pastures, along a dirt path, and we come upon a rundown shack of a tavern, which is some kind of watering hole for the local Black community. Well, 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 look who's landed on my doorstep, her uncle said, seeming surprised to see his niece with a white girl. He serves us cokes and teaches us some moves at the pool table. On our walk home, Jerry tells me about the underground railroad trail that runs nearby the tavern, where slaves had escaped more than a century earlier. Why hadn't I learned about this in school? I got to know Jerry's family, including her older sister, Tony, whom both Jerry and I looked up to because she was a big deal at Eastern High School. She was a cheerleader, she was on the student council, she was on the track team, she was on the yearbook committee, she was vice president of the French club, and she was also very beautiful. To add to her stellar resume, Tony was chosen to be homecoming queen during the fall that I was in ninth grade. That day, I climbed onto the bus after school and heard one of the rowdy boys who gathered at the back of the bus shouting, "A goddamn N-word is the homecoming queen." It dawns on me it's Jerry's older sister he's talking about. What is all this anger about? At about the same time, I overhear chatter between my parents and neighbors about the possibility that a Black family might buy a house in our subdivision. I pick up on their anxious tone, but I'm not quite sure why they are anxious. But gradually, I come to see that there is some unspoken dividing line between Blacks and whites one that neither group is supposed to cross. In the middle of ninth grade, my family moves back to Chicago after my dad takes a different job. My parents moved to an upscale suburb north of the city, one they can barely afford, so that us kids could go to the more academically challenging public schools. I am miserable and I spend hours in tears writing letters on the phone and occasionally going back to Kentucky to visit Jerry and my other friends. But gradually my ties with them fade and I shed my acquired southern accent as I work to fit into my much more lily white school. I've had other friendships across racial lines since that time, but none quite as precious as the one with Jerry. Lately, I've been trying to find Jerry, wanting to reconnect across the decades and across the racial strife that keeps rearing its head 50 years later. But I haven't managed to find her. So, Jerry, if you're out there, I miss you. That's it. Boom.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes. Live from Portland, Oregon, Kathy Salvaggio. Hey, Kathy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I didn't, by the way, and thank you for everyone who's here, audience folks, supporting. This can be some scary shit. So I really appreciate you being here and supporting the tellers. I didn't share with the tellers beforehand. I want to ask you a question. I didn't want to give you a chance to prepare for the question. Now the others know it's coming, some questions coming, so they have it a little bit easier. What was you've never really done a storytelling thing before, right?
No.
What was the hardest thing for you in terms of trying to craft and or tell a story from scratch?
Well, I guess two things. One was, I mean, you kind of talked about this earlier when you said what we learned, but one was figuring out how to end the story. I really struggled with trying to get it to land somehow, and that. So I played around with different endings. There's that, but also, I mean, as maybe you could tell from this, I performing it is a whole different ball of wax than writing it, and it's intimidating. It's really kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
So that's really hard. I found myself memorizing a lot because in order to so I don't like forget things.
Sure.
So that's it.
Yeah. Well, great. I'm so glad that you joined the class, and I've seen how it started and how it's developed. So thank you for sticking to it and telling your story and going first. I really appreciate that. Even though I kind of told people when they were going, they didn't volunteer it. So thanks for being okay with that.
Sure. Okay.
And now you get to just relax.
Yep. Now I can listen
Just
to everyone
watch
else.
the others, which must be nice. All right. I didn't get confirmation from our second storyteller that she knows she's going second. Alva, are you going to give me a heads up, a nod, an okay? You're good?
Yeah.
Awesome. So here's my very brief introduction to Alva. Her name is Alva Gutierrez, and she lives in my area. I don't have many storytelling people or friends in the Triangle of North Carolina. She's actually the daughter of one of my dancing friends. Hermina, who's here, is also one of my dancing friends. So my worlds are sort of overlapping. Now, were 30 years ago when my worlds overlap, that would freak me out, right? Like my worlds have to be separate. But now that I'm no longer a child, it's okay. Alva, I'm going to unmute yourself. I want you to take your time and please, whenever you're ready, share with us your story.
All right. Thank you. I was 4 years old. It had been a great day, beautiful weather, with the kind of blue sky that seems to stretch on forever. The kind of sky that makes you feel so small, but also infinite at the same time. I'd been sitting in the huge mulberry tree in our backyard, my mulberry tree. In those days, a lot of my time was spent sitting in the tall branches of the green haven. I felt truly at peace in that tree, like nothing could ever bother me. At the end of that day, I was getting ready for bed. It couldn't have been any later than 5 or 6, and my dad had just gotten home. At that age, I wouldn't take naps when I was supposed to, and I was ready for bed before the sun had gone down. I stepped out into the hallway, going to tell my parents that I was ready for bed, but my dad had a big suitcase with him. I asked him, "Dad, where are you going?" And he told me not to worry. "I'll be there when you wake up." When I was young, as much time as possible was spent with my father. Sunday mornings, his only day off, was spent watching television, playing soccer, and making paper model airplanes. I loved my dad, and he was there for me when I needed him. The thing I didn't realize was that he always let me down. He would make promises, but he wouldn't deliver on them most of the time. In my young eyes, he was perfect, and the things that he did that should have disappointed me just went over my head. It wasn't until I was older that his actions started sinking in. When I was about 7 years old, after my dad left, I told my aunt that my dad said he would get me a computer. That's when my aunt told me that he didn't hold true to his promises, and I shouldn't expect too much from him. That was when I realized that life was going to let me down, and he would be the main reason. My dad was in and out of my life for many years, and I'd learned to not expect much from him. That didn't mean I didn't want to look up to him, to trust him, but if I did, I'd just get hurt. I would have expected that after a while, after he'd realized that there was nothing that I wanted from him, he'd stop, but he kept letting me down. He wasn't much help or inspiration to me when I needed help finding my way, and he never made me think, I want to be just like my dad when I grow up. At my 8th grade commencement, the parents were asked to stand up so they could be thanked for helping us through elementary and middle school. My dad had come to my commencement, and he stood up with all the actual parents, the parents that had been there for the highs and lows of the past 14 years. He hadn't been one of them, but he stood up. That day, he let me down again, and I couldn't take it after that. He'd broken my heart. The fact that he could split and be such a small part of my life, and then march in and act like he'd been there all along, that was just too much. He couldn't take responsibility for all the work my mom had put in to keep me safe and healthy and whole. The day after my commencement, I went to the mall with my father. He decided he'd get me a new phone. In order to do so without having to pay everything up front, he would have to send me the money monthly in order to pay for the phone. However, my mom had decided to ask for more child support. My dad blamed that decision on me and left me with a brand new phone with no way to pay for it, and he didn't talk to me for over half a year. In October, I decided to cut ties with him and be done with his absurdity once and for all. I feel better without him manipulating me and letting me down, but sometimes I feel bad for being done with him without him knowing why I don't answer his calls. I know he doesn't deserve an explanation. He never gave me one. But I feel bad that he doesn't realize that what he's done all my life. He's done nothing, and that's the worst thing he could have done.
Thank you, Alva. But don't mute yourself so quickly, Alva. Well, I'll give you a moment to just. All right. Hey, Alva, question. Would you share with everybody your age?
I am almost 16 in March.
So maybe I won't ask everybody who's here, but I'm just wondering who at not even 16 years old would have shared something or has shared something like that with the public. Because I guess, man, so kudos to you for having the courage to do that, sticking it out. I know I can be very annoying, and I'm sure I annoyed you sometimes, but thank you for not telling me directly that. No, you did great. I really appreciate it. Hey, but before we move on to our third of 4 storytellers, was there one thing in particular that was really tricky or challenging for you or frustrating for you in this process?
Not really.
No?
No, honestly. Well, I had trouble deciding where my story would go at first, but then
Mhm.
eventually it just kind of like clicked, I guess. I don't know.
Cool. Thanks, Alva. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. Hey, remember, so what we'll do is after Andrea and then Laura tell their stories, we'll unmute, we can chat. You don't have to, sort of loose. And there was something else that I believe I wanted to share with you, but I don't think it's that important because I would have remembered it. Again, we had two storytellers or students who could not be with us today. One's here actually, but she wasn't able to tell her story, but she will be with us again next month. So I'm looking forward to hearing those stories. Our third storyteller this fine Sunday, quick little intro. Loves the power of writing and telling stories, but finds it easier to encourage others. Hence this storytelling challenge, which you're about to hear that this challenge come to fruition. She is the editor of the literary journal We'll Never Have Paris. And she also co-hosts Stories from the Monkey Bars, which is a storytelling show. She's based in New York City. She is also an ASL interpreter. So if Kathy Salvaggio at the end of her story didn't get that right, Andrea would know it. She may not say anything, but she would be able to know it. Anyhow, please welcome Andria Alefhi. Hey, Andrea.
The year is 2012. It's October 2012, and Hurricane Sandy is bearing down on the East Coast. And tomorrow it's slated to hit Manhattan, where I live. I'm a sign language interpreter. That's what I do for work. It's Sunday, I get the call. Hey, Andrea, do you want a job working for the city of New York for the Office of Emergency Management? If Mayor Bloomberg goes on TV to make a weather-related announcement about the hurricane, you would sign and interpret for him on TV. Do you want the job? Well, I am a sign language interpreter. I'm a good interpreter, but I don't have any special skills to be on TV. I've never been on TV interpreting. I don't know anyone who's ever interpreted on TV. I don't want to be on TV, but I do want the job. I want to get paid for a full day's work. If I don't work, I don't get paid. I'm a contractor. And I know if I say no, they'll hang up the phone, they'll go on and they'll find another interpreter who wants the job. So I say yes. They say, okay, tomorrow, Monday morning at 11 a.m., we're sending a car to pick you up to bring you to the Office of Emergency Management. This is before Uber, it's 2012. Okay, cool. I hang up and I immediately regret my decision. And I don't feel good about it the whole rest of the night. I'm not an indecisive person. I usually think quick, make decisions quick, don't regret it. So even I'm surprised why I feel so indecisive and torn about this. Someone has to do the job. They need a sign language interpreter to do it, but it could be any sign language interpreter. It doesn't have to be me. Also, I really don't want to be on TV. You might think somebody else would be excited about the opportunity to be on camera and get seen. No, I really don't want to. It's not a job where people really see you. You're seen, but not seen. You're there for deaf people if they understand you, but otherwise you're not really there to put on a show. It's not a performance. It's kind of somewhere in between. But I'd already said yes. They gave me the opportunity, and you should take opportunities, right? Next morning rolls around. It's Monday morning. I get up, I take a shower, I put on a suit. It's 11 a.m. I'm watching the news on TV, eating a bowl of Lucky Charms, and I'm waiting for the car to come pick me up. 11:15, no car. 11:30, no car. Now I'm getting worried. I'm on the clock right now. I'm on call. I'm getting paid. I don't want to be late for work. So I call, and that's when they tell me, hey, Andrea, guess what? We don't need you today after all. There's another interpreter here, Erica. And Erica said she's got it covered. She can do it all by herself. We don't need you. Hey, but don't worry, we're going to pay you anyway. We'll pay you for the whole day. Just stay home. You'll be on call tomorrow. We might need you tomorrow. Sweet, I think. I dodged a bullet. I get paid for a whole day and I don't have to go on TV. Sweet. Well, that night, sure enough, Hurricane Sandy does hit Manhattan. The East River floods and the power plant on Avenue D explodes. all of Manhattan loses power south of 39th Street, including me in the East Village. So that night I go to bed, no internet, no light, no heat, nothing. The next morning I wake up, I don't know how long power is going to be out. Nobody in the city knows how long power is going to be out. Hurricane came and did a lot of damage. No subways are running, no buses are running, shit's closed. So I pack a bag with a couple changes of clothes, a toothbrush, take my bike, go down the stairs because the elevator's out. I bicycle over the Williamsburg Bridge to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where they have power. So I'm there. I'm homeless for I don't know how long. I start texting friends. Hey, can I stay with you? Hey, can I stay with you? And then in the middle of texting friends and figuring out what to do now, I get the call from work. You remember work? Yeah. So they call and they say, hey, Andrea, it's your turn. You're going to be on TV. We're sending a car to pick you up. Holy shit. I'd completely forgotten that I'm on call for work. I wasn't ready yesterday. I'm certainly not ready today. I don't feel ready to go interpret and be on TV with everything going on. I didn't pack a suit. I don't think I can do this job. I don't want to make mistakes on TV. What if I do a bad job and people see me do a bad job? So I tell them, hey guys, I'm sorry. I know I'm on the clock right now, but I can't do this today. I can't do it. Just take me off. Sorry, I can't come in. Huh? All right, fine. They hung up. I felt bad. I did. I felt bad for letting them down, but I felt like I'd done the right thing. I just wasn't ready to go and do this job. In the meantime, I had to figure out what I was going to do for the rest of the next couple of days. Well, in the meantime, while this is happening in my life and the hurricane has hit New York City, here's what's happening in the world of interpreting. Remember Erica? So she's been on TV interpreting every day for Mayor Bloomberg. And again, in 2012, you didn't see interpreters on TV. It's not like now where they're everywhere. This was brand new territory. And as the world watches what New York City does, the world watched what New York City's interpreter for the mayor was doing. And every day that she went on, more and more people saw her and everyone wanted to know about sign language all of a sudden. It was like America just saw sign language for the very first time. So I got call after call after call. Did you see the sign language interpreter on TV? There's a sign language interpreter on TV. Hey, Andrea, do you know who the sign language interpreter on TV is? And at first, I was mad. Like, why do you care? You don't know sign language. Forget about it. It's not important for you. So I felt. And then I said, yeah, I know who the interpreter is on TV. I mean, she's not that good. She's just a regular interpreter. She's nothing special. And then I said, hey, do you know that was almost me? That was supposed to be me on TV. They just didn't send the car on Monday to pick me up. I realized suddenly, without knowing I would be, I was suddenly very jealous. I didn't know she was going to get all this attention. I didn't know she was being rocketed into fame, standing next to Mayor Bloomberg, interpreting about the hurricane. It was almost me, you guys. They just didn't send the car to get me. And with every person that called, my emotions really changed. Mad that everyone cared about something that really shouldn't matter to them. Mad that this interpreter was getting all the attention. She was really enjoying it. A little mad at myself for not reaching down, grabbing them and taking the opportunity for myself. I chickened out. All these feelings. Do you know that when Hurricane Sandy was all done, this interpreter actually really became world famous? You might not know, but in the interpreting world, yeah, she became a household name. They did articles on her. She was all over the internet. They spoofed her on Saturday Night Live that weekend. It's true. And when this was all done, she actually opened up her own interpreting business because she was so famous as a result of this experience. And that could have been me. But once I got over everything, I realized I really didn't want it to be me. Yeah, I temporarily felt a little jealous, but I didn't, if I could go back and do it again, I really didn't want to do it. I just didn't want all those eyes on me. I didn't want to be the person representing. And there's more. The deaf community actually doesn't want to see a hearing sign language interpreter on TV. The deaf community wants to see a deaf interpreter on TV. And I was actually instrumental in making that happen. Just 2 years later, in 2014, the very first ever deaf interpreter was on nationally televised news. And that person was none other than my own husband. Yes, It's true. I helped get my husband on TV, and ever since then, if you see a sign language interpreter on TV, more often than not, they are a deaf person. So I was in between two different landmarks in sign language interpreting. But getting him on TV was something that everyone feels good about, and I feel good about too. The end.
Yes. Thank you, Andrea. Great job. Great job, everyone. What are the odds, do you think, that literally 50% of our storytellers, parts of their story or all of the stories center on sign language or the deaf community? What are the odds of that? It's kind of rhetorical. It's just astounding. Hey, Andrea, how do you feel right now having just shared that lovely story?
I feel really good that it's over. I don't have to practice it anymore. No, I feel good about having done it.
Cool. What is the stories from the monkey bars?
Oh, I host a monthly, very casual storytelling show. We have a theme every month, and we also sign language interpret that show. So it is in English and also in sign language. And it's just a fun, casual monthly storytelling show without no competition and about a 7-minute time limit. And the next one is February 25th.
Awesome. So interesting. So it's you do the sign interpreting.
Yes.
Wow. Are there other shows like that? Or is that unique?
Interpreters are doing more and more stuff, but if you were at the last one, we actually had a deaf person tell a story.
Yeah.
So not only will we interpret it in sign language for people that don't sign, but a deaf person can tell a story and we can voice that story. So it's an interpreted story.
I want to tell a story and have someone sign it.
Yeah.
Great community. Yeah. Let's do that sometime. It sounds fun.
All right.
Awesome stuff, Andrea. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. We only have one more storyteller today. And then we will we'll chat a little bit and get to know each other a little bit if you want to. You can unmute yourselves. You can even show your faces. Either way, I really appreciate everyone being here. And our final storyteller has been waiting patiently. She is a psychotherapist. She lives in Montreal, but she has not always lived in Montreal. She's from France. She spent a few years in the United States of America. Then she moved to Montreal. And she enjoys playing piano, which, not that you care, but I've tried to learn. And I've learned it's really freaking hard. Okay? She also likes to box, so she's got that in common with at least one other person here on the Zoom call. Maybe how they know each other, we'll find out after her story. Please welcome Laure, Élina, Bénard. Knock 'em dead, Laura.
Hello. Speaker view. Cancel it. I'm staring at the departure screen and it says my flight to Minneapolis is canceled. What does canceled mean? I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. I'm searching for the meaning of the word in my mind, but I can't find it. I'm 18 and I know very little English. I grew up in France, in the countryside. Where I grew up, I could see cows and meadows out of my bedroom window. I know very little of the world. I'm young and inexperienced, but I want to travel. I want to see what's out there. So I put efforts into learning English. I learned how to say, Brian's book is read. I learned how to say, hello, how are you? And I learned a few useful words so I could actually use for this trip. But I don't remember learning what cancel it means. I look at the word again on the screen and I notice the ED at the end of the word. It's definitely a past participle. Something wrong must have happened to the flight. I feel my shoulders tensing up. My breathing is tight. I feel something's wrong. I landed 20 minutes ago at JFK for the first time in New York City, for the first time ever in North America. I feel impressed. I feel amazed at what I'm seeing. This does not look like at all the cows and meadows of my childhood. But I'm not here to stay in New York. I'm going to Minneapolis, where I found a summer job, my first summer job. I'm going to work in a resort with people my age. I'm going to learn how to speak English. This is going to be a great learning experience for the 18-year-old insecure French girl that I am. I know I'm insecure. And like many anxious people, I counterbalance my anxiety with extreme planning. I planned this trip to the minute, and this is before the internet and smartphones. Believe me, I know by heart every steps and stages that would lead me to this very nice American family, friends of friends, who are waiting for me at the Minneapolis airport. They're supposed to pick me up there, and they will bring me to the resort in a couple of days.